Okay, so today what I'm going to be doing is I am going to be editing a lifestyle photography photo session with little kids. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my picture and I'm going to follow a couple steps to make it a little less obnoxious and more focused on the kid. So what I do is I always duplicate my background layer and kind of close it so in case I ever want to revert back to it, I can. The next thing I usually do is adjust the levels. And if anything, I think this picture is a little too bright, so I'm going to bring this down just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm actually going to duplicate my layer again. You could either drag it down or do Control J. And I'm going to go to Filter, Other, High Pass. Now for high pass, I like to keep my pixels around 10, so I'm just going to press OK. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a layer mask. So I'm going to go over here to Layer, Layer Mask, and I'm going to reveal all. So I'm sorry, I'm going to go to hide all. So hide all. Okay, and it's going to give me this black box. Now I want this high pass to basically be extremely visible on my daughter Ainsley here. So if you can see, I've got a black box. I'm going to click on it for my layer mask. And I am going to switch my colors to white, because when you have the black, you're going to use light to reveal what you want. So right now everything's hidden, but I'm just going to reveal her. So here I go. I'm going to use my paintbrush. I'm going to use a nice soft brush. Okay, and I am going to begin to paint her in. Now before you start, you see how she's kind of turning into a crazy ghostly color. Okay, what we're going to do is we are actually going to turn our opacity down. We're going to turn our blending mode into pin light. Okay, and I'm just going to trace her. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring the details out in her, while the other things are going to not have as many details. Now, as soon as I get her kind of just traced really quickly, okay, and I can see if I'm doing a good job or not via the white that's showing through in my black box over there. Now, one thing I did notice is the opacity of my brush is turned down from a previous thing I was working on, so I'm just going to go back up. I've turned the opacity up, now I'm going to come back in. Okay, and that's looking pretty good to me. Now, right now, the opacity of this is turned down to 36, but I can come in now and crank that guy up a little bit so I can make it a little more interesting. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to add a layer, a new fill layer. So I'm going to do a solid color. And for this, I'm going to turn the blending mode once again into kind of a pin light or a soft light. And I'm going to use peach. So I'm going to come over here, find more of my orange, and a little color goes a long way. So just be very careful when you do this. So just a nice soft peach. And I'm going to turn this down all the way to 0. And then I'm going to kind of step it back. Probably somewhere between 15 and 20%. So it's just kind of lightening up those areas. Okay, now I do want Ainsley to be a little less peachy. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to turn my brush opacity down to maybe about 75%. And I'm going to switch my brush to black because I've got white now. So I want to hide this for my daughter, because remember, black is hide and white is reveal. So as I begin to paint her in, you're going to see some of those tones start to return. Now, once again, our tones are a little bit vivid, so I might, press Control X and try it again with maybe even a lower opacity brush. But actually, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to keep it as is. So right now, if you're looking at it, you can see that she's a little bit more noticeable than the muted background, which is good. So this might be something that I keep. The other thing you can do as just a different option is you could duplicate your layer, put it on the top, okay, and then play with some of these blending modes. Soft light, things like screen, one of my absolute favorites, but you can turn the opacity down on it, and that's just going to make everything just a little bit brighter. So you can see the difference right there. So it brightens it up just a little bit. Maybe something like a soft light. Okay, and it's going to change it just a little bit as well. You see the difference? Maybe something like saturation. Like there's all of these different things you could play with. If you want to get really funky, you could end up turning this layer black and white. So I could go up here to Image, Adjustments, Black and White, press OK. I could turn the opacity up. Okay, and you could make your layer even more muted or your picture more muted. It's all up to you.